Christian Stylez back for another video, and I just wanted to make sure that I put this trigger warning in this video. This is going to be a very personal story, and if anyone has triggers, I mean, you've read the title, so you know what I'm getting ready to discuss. Maybe this isn't the video for you if you have been through a similar experience. Just a warning to click off now. I appreciate you, but this is not the video for you. I don't want you to be triggered in any way. Alright, y'all. It has it's taken me a while to come and actually do this video because I like to share everything with you guys. I really do, but there are just some things that take a little longer for me to bring to YouTube, and I had to build up the courage to even do this. There was a point in time where I was debating, and I said no, I am not going to put that on display, but I figured because I am a survivor and someone who is not really bothered by it today, I figured that if anyone went through it or is recently or is struggling to get over it, my story and my perspective of it may help someone, So I'm just gonna get right into it. A few years ago, this is going to be a bit of a series because this didn't just happen to me once, it happened to me more than once. And this is not the very first time that it happened to me, but I'm sharing this story in particular because it is the most memorable for me. So a lot of years ago, I said a few years ago, a lot of years ago, maybe 2011 maybe, I am really involved in the church, and I always have been very involved in the church, and my Christian faith is extremely important to me, and I grew up on Christian values and stuff like that. So I went to this church that's by me, that it was a predominantly black church, and I went to this church because I didn't feel the need to go to my parents' church, because my parents' church, we just didn't fit in there with all the white kids, and we might have been privileged, but we weren't privileged in white, so it was we just didn't fit in. And also, we worked at that other church. My parents owned a restaurant that was on the second floor of that church, so we chose not to do our worshiping there. That was more of a place of business for us when we'd go to that church. So I found a different church that was a lot closer to my home, that was predominantly black, and this church actually helped shape me from toddler age all the way up until college, actually. And we used to do this thing all through my life. When I was little toddler, they did this thing called Royal Rangers, and we would go on camping trips, and it would be really cool. They're like little church field trips, and your parents would let you go because it's a church trip. You don't expect anything odd to happen on these trips. So I went to these trips all my life, and I never had any odd experiences. I never had an experience that made me not want to go back. I was bullied, like, when I got to middle school age. And this is, you know, where this story takes place. When I got to, like, the middle school trips, when I got a little older, we went to this event called Encounter, and it is the church that I go to. They have all the churches, all the Assemblies of God is a type of church, an organization that, like, owns several different churches, and so all these churches come together for these events, and Encounter was the event that we were coming together for. And it was in Daytona Beach, Florida. I'll never forget that. It was in Daytona Beach, Florida, and I had never been to Daytona before, and I was really excited to go with all my friends. And you know, I was the popular kid in church. Like, almost everywhere I went, I was kind of like destined to be like a pastor, and I'm a legally ordained minister now, and you know, I was always destined to be that, or I felt I was. And so we went on this trip, man. You know, like any other trip, I've gone on so many, and I never had an issue. We got on the bus, and as soon as we got on the bus, something in the pit of my stomach said, this is going to be a weird one. And I never knew why. I always sat in the very front of the bus because I like to look out. I don't know if any of you guys are like, get bus sick or whatever. Like, I don't get bus sick, but I just don't want to be in the back of the bus. And it might have been like a very black thing for me, you know, like, we're past that point of the black people being in the back of the bus. But the whole bus was full of black people. It was just, it's just a thing for me. I'm not sitting in the back of the bus. So I would always sit in the very front seat, to the right of the bus driver, so I can, like, tell him where to go if he gets lost and stuff like that. I was very bossy then. And so I sat up there, and I rode the 6 hours, 5 hours, however long, from South Florida, where I live. And we got there, and as we were checking in, and we got our room assignments, and who told, like, who we were going to be rooming with. That's what I mean by room assignments. I got roomed with my friends, so I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be awesome. And little did I know, it was actually one of the biggest nightmares. So I was close to two brothers. They were two half brothers. You know, if you looked at them, you would have never known that they were brothers. Two brothers, another gentleman, and myself. And that person was the attacker, so I'll call him D. Okay, and so we all were like so excited, and we're like, oh yeah, we're, you know, every time we go on a trip, we always get roomed together. And they did it kind of like by age, and the gender, obviously, but they did it by age. And so we were the closest in age, so we were the oldest out of the group of middle schoolers, and so the seniors of the group, if you will. So they roomed us together, and, you know, I'm thinking nothing of it, and it just started to get weird. You know, when you're young and it's a group of boys, and, you know, some of them may be struggling or trying to find their sexuality, or, you know, whatever, what feels right to them. It was sort of kind of that, like, they, you know, a lot of straight friends, they play gay. That's just what they do. And it's never a issue because, you know, it's all in good fun. It's just playful. There was one person, D, that took that to a whole nother level. You know, there's always one that just goes too far, and it's because they're actually finding, like, sexual enjoyment with doing it. Like, it's no longer a joke to them. It's serious. Like, they really want to explore this. And, I'm trying to explain this as eloquently and as gracefully as I possibly can. So we got to the room, and we're putting our stuff down, and we're picking the beds, and this is where I totally fucked up. I'm not even gonna lie. So I was like, I wanted to be with my friend Z, and you know, I was like, at first I'm like, Z, I'm gonna bunk with you, you know, because there was 2 beds in the room, 2 full-size beds in the room, and you know, I'm gonna bunk with you. And then he was like, no, that doesn't make sense, you know, I'm gonna bunk with my brother because, you know, we're blood. You and D can bunk together. And I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. So I was like, okay. And so he was like extra thrilled that he was bunking with me, and I'm like, why? You know, excitement. Like, at that point, you can tell that something was off, because if you're overly excited about sleeping with another man, you know, something is going on there. You know, I know we were young and you know, preteens and whatever, and hormones and, you know, the phase or whatever, but at the same time, you don't proudly display that you're excited about sleeping with another man. That's just like, no. So the whole day he was like so chummy with me. Like, he would just put his arm around me. Yeah, I can't wait until we go back to the room. We gonna have pillow fights. We gonna turn up. And I'm like, a bunch of preteen boys pillow fighting sounds great, you know. So I just was like, you know, I'm not gonna think nothing of it. We went to the pool like directly after. There was a pool that was at the resort, and we asked our team leader, Pastor Josh, can we go, you know, into the pool? He was like, yeah, go get your stuff on, we'll go to the pool. So he took us to the pool, and this is like where it all went wrong. We had balls, like footballs, and the squishy water balls things, and the noodles, and we were smacking each other with them. Everything was fine. Everything is as it should be. And out of nowhere, I get grabbed from behind in the pool, and I'm like, alright, whatever. And it's D. He grabbed me and dunked me under the water and then let go. I'm like, alright, you know, I don't like to be touched. That's like my thing. I can't stand it. Like, even if you're my friend, there is a level of respect for me. I don't touch you, you don't touch me type of situation. And I've always been like that since I was little. I just do not like physical contact. It bothers me. And so he just kept coming around and kept touching me, and he pulled me towards the wall, like the wall of the pool. Like, we were in the area that I could hardly stand in. Like, we were in the middle, and kind of like throwing the ball to the other side, to the other people, to the other boys that were, you know, there's like 50 boys, but we're all like separated in different rooms, and you know, all the boys were in the pool. Boys swam first, then girls swam after, so they can keep us separate, and we didn't see the girls in their bikinis and, you know, stuff like that. So you know, and I didn't think anything of it, and because my feet couldn't touch the ground, he picked me up as if like he was carrying me, like on his front, and he started caressing my butt. And now that is when I thought, like, okay, you can grab my legs, you don't have to do that. And it was like, what the hell? So I'm like, move, nigga, you on that gay shit. And I just felt like kind of awkward after that. I remember I got out of the pool, like, you know, and I went to go sit on the lounge chair, like, you know, I'm done with this. And everybody's like, Grandpa, you know, that's what they called me. Pastor Gigi actually stands for Grandpa in my last name, because it starts with a G, so it was Grandpa and then my last name. And so I was like, you know, it just felt awkward. Then as time went on, I just, sorry, there's something going on, hold on. So, anyways, so I remember I was getting out, and they were like, Grandpa, come on, get back in the pool. And I'm like, nah, I think I'm done. Like, it's been 45 minutes, I think I'm done. And, so as I got out, everybody else was like, it's not really fun anymore, you know, like, what the hell happened to you? Like, my whole mood, like, shifted. And so they started to get out, like, one by one, like 10 minutes in 10-minute increments. Like, then eventually, you know, Pastor Jay was like, y'all got like 10 minutes, because it doesn't look like y'all are even in the pool anymore. We're just kind of like walking around the lobby and seeing the stuff. Like, we were like drying off, basically. We weren't even in the pool anymore at that point. And so he was like, y'all, let's just go back up to the room and, you know, do some devotional, and, you know, it's a church trip. And then y'all can chill in the room, and I'll go with the other counselors. And, you know, I'll see what the agenda is, because he checked in with the head pastor to see, like, what we were doing. While we were doing the devotional back in our rooms, the girls were swimming. That's just how it went. We got out, they got in. And, when we got back to the room, their first thing was like, you want to go like look out the window to see like what the girls are doing, like, and we were like, no, we can't leave the room, we're gonna get in trouble if we leave this floor. So they were like extremely strict. Like, once we were in our room, that's where we needed to stay, because if they came to find us and they couldn't, it was a problem. So they were like, I don't care if you guys like explore the this floor, like look for the vending machine, whatever, but don't go around the hotel. Like, we need to be able to find you in case we all get on the bus and go somewhere. You know, it's like common respect. And so we sat in there, we did our little devotional for like 25 minutes. Then Pastor Josh was like, I'll see y'all boys later, you know, whatever, do what you're gonna do. And so we started doing pillow fights and you know, wrestling and all of this. And as we were wrestling, D was on top of me, and he was much stronger than I was at the time, so I'm trying to like get him off of me, and there was like no way. And that's how I figured, I'm like, oh shit, you know, like, first of all, I'm realizing like, damn, I'm weak, and second of all, he's overpowering me, and he's really not that much bigger than I am. I was skinny at that point, very skinny. Like, if you've seen what I looked like back in the day, apologies again. So then it just like, we were, where was I? So he was like, his arms were on my arms and like pressing me down, and they were still pillow fighting, the two brothers behind, jumping all over the beds, you know, doing whatever. And his head goes into my neck, and he bites my neck, and I'll never forget it. I'm like, bro, get off of me. But because I'm not stronger than him, I can't really fight back. So it was hard. I'm trying, but I cannot. Like, he was heavier than I was. So, and then I just was kind of trying to like kind of steer clear of him. Like, when we stopped, you know, play fighting or whatever, I pulled my friend Z aside, and his brother I pulled him aside, pulled both of them aside, and I'm like, he doing some suspect ass shit, like some fruity ass shit. I don't feel comfortable. Like, can we switch beds? Because I don't feel comfortable like being around him. And they were like, I don't really know what to tell you, because I just don't want to sleep with nobody else but my brother, you know, whatever. So I'm like, alright, you know, but I'm just telling you, like, watch his behavior, like, it's suspect. And, you know, that's when I'm telling you that this is not the first time that this has happened, so there's going to be probably like other parts of this. And so that for the whole rest of that afternoon, it got worse and worse, or evening rather, it got worse and worse. And so it was time for dinner, so we all got ready and went, you know, downstairs for dinner. Pastor Josh came to get us, and you know, so we got dressed into something nice after we got out of the pool, and we're going downstairs to like the main lobby of the hotel to have dinner and meet the girls, whatever. And so we're all going down and walking down the hallway, and you know, he comes up to me again, just putting his arm around my neck, and like we were chummy. I mean, we were friends, but it just, after you've made me feel so uncomfortable all day, you can pretty much tell that I don't want nothing to do with you. So, and I'm like signaling to Z, like, watch what he's doing. And he was like, oh, you look good, you always look nice, you know, whatever. And that is true. I've always been the person who was always dressed the nicest. You know, maybe that had to do with me, you know, being a wealthier person, so I had, you know, I had nice things. And so I was dressed very nicely, and his hand just went to rubbing on my booty as we were walking down the hall. And I'm like, yeah, no. So I'm like, nah, haha, nigga, you gay, you know, like, just stop that. And as soon as he did that, Zion seen it and screamed it out loud, like, whoa, what you doing? You feeling on G booty, da da da. So all these niggas was like, in the hallway, was like, they all turned around, was like, damn, nigga, you gay. And it wasn't just our room at this point, it was all the other rooms of the guys that are on the floor. It was like all the boys. And I sped up and I stood next to Pastor Josh, and I was walking next to Pastor Josh. Like, I made sure I got on the elevator with him. Like, there was a lot of us, so we all didn't even get on the same elevator. There was only 2 elevators, and there was like 30 guys, so we all kind of like took turns getting on elevators. But I made sure I stood next to Pastor Josh the whole time, like, as we were on the elevator. And I just, at that point, I was like very creeped out, and I couldn't even like really enjoy my dinner. We all were supposed to like sit at the same table together, but I went and I sat on the other side of the little restaurant in the lobby, like, by myself. And a few of the girls that I was friends with, they came over and they were like, you know, Deep, why are you sitting by yourself, you know, da da. And I'm like, I'm chilling, like, it's fine if you don't sit next by me, it's cool. And I was just feeling really uncomfortable, so I finished eating and I was like, Pastor Josh, can I like leave, like, can I like explore, like, whatever? And he was like, yeah, just be where we can see you, you know, whatever. So I'm like walking around and I'm going to the little gift shop and I'm seeing what I can buy. Like, I always got souvenirs on the trip. And the next thing I know, he comes to find me, like, oh, why you ain't sit with us, and da da da. And I'm like, hello, like, nah, you on the gay shit, bro, like, move. Like, I didn't say that, but I'm like, you can't tell, like, you can't take a hint. And it's kind of like, at this point, I'm like, I feel like he's doing it on purpose, you know, like, he knows what he's doing, like, but it's no longer a game, like I said earlier. So when we finally, like, everybody went back to their rooms, they put tape on our door, like actual tape. They put it on the outside of our door, and they said if we open the door, they'll know if we open the door because the tape will be, you know, messed up, it'll be wrinkled, whatever. They'll know that we left the room after hours when we weren't supposed to. So and that was, you know, that was for our safety. It seems stupid now, like, when you really think about it, because, like, who really cares? But we were a bunch of young kids, you know, 10 adults are responsible for us, you know. It was a big deal, like, you stay in your room after hours. So they put the tape on our door, so it's not like we could go anywhere, but it was a pretty good, big, decent room, you know. There was a living room, TV, you know, whatever. And so I spent most of the time, like, just sitting in the chair, like, in the corner, like, on my phone at the time. I think I was always on my phone. I always had something that I was doing, and I wasn't really engaging with the rest of the boys that were in the room, the other 3 boys that were in the room. And at one point in the night, they were like, we're still hungry, you want to order pizza? And I'm like, I don't think we can do that. And they were like, they said that they're gonna bring us pizza. And I'm like, are you sure about that? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. So then Pastor Josh comes to the door and he was like, what kind of pizza do y'all want? Because the counselors are ordering pizza, you know, because downstairs that food was not, like, it wasn't right, you know. So they were like, each of y'all get like 1 box of pizza, like, each room gets 1 box of pizza, so what y'all want? And so we told him what we wanted, and he left, and we didn't see him again until the box of pizza came. So we sitting there and we all chilling and whatever, and D going around sitting on people's lap. And, you know, he was a thicker boy, so he knew that he, you know, was shaped like a female. And so he'd go out and you know, sitting on all these people to see like who's gonna like play with him. And I was like, don't bring that shit over here, because you know, you're starting to get on my nerves, you know, because at this point I'm starting to get mad. And the pizza came, and you know, we ate the pizza, and everyone can kind of see, like, after I kind of like exploded in the room, that I was upset, you know, like my whole mood changed. So I was the first one to like get in the bed, and you know, I was thinking like it was no big deal. Then later on, he gets in the bed, and I'm like, alright, I don't feel comfortable being the only one in this bedroom with you. We're already sharing a bed. They're out there doing whatever they're doing, you know, watching TV, whatever. And you know, I don't feel comfortable. And so he got in the bed and got underneath the covers and put his arm like across my stomach, and he was whispering in my ear like, "Oh, you okay? I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. You're just sexy. It's just pleasure to me." And I'm like, "Nigga, what?" So I'm like, "Nah, like move." And he was like, "We can just try it." And I'm like, "No, we can't try nothing." And he just starts to like start kissing on me, and I'm like moving, like I'm trying not to scream because, you know, the other guys are in the other room. And I'm like, I'm not somebody who wants to out someone. Like, I don't do that. So I kept it to myself because I'm like, you know, what the hell? And I'm like, "Move, bruh, like move." He was like, "They're in the other room. They won't even hear us, da 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 da." So he pins my arms down and gets to like putting hickeys on my neck and stuff. And the only time he would move is when he thought they were coming. And so, like I said, he was stronger than I was. So I'm pushing back, but it's like no use. Like I'm like, move. And I'm like saying it, but I'm not saying it loud because, again, I don't want to alert them. Which in hindsight kind of seems dumb now. I should have just blurted it out. But and that was like that was, I think, my biggest issue. That's what got me in this situation in the first place. And when they did finally come into the room, he moved like ain't nothing was happening. So like towards the middle of the night, he waited until they fell asleep, and he got on top of me, and he took my clothes off. Like he like yanked my clothes down like while I was like trying to sleep, and I'm trying to like keep my clothes on, and I feel it like pressed up against my butt, and I'm like, "Nah, nigga, like this is not happening." So he was like, "Just let it happen, just let it happen, just let it happen." And I'm like, "No, and no." Like I'm trying to push him. Now I have to be really quiet because they're sleeping, you know, and he's pressuring me and like pinning me. I can't cry because I have makeup on. He's like pinning me down, and I'm like, "Get the fuck off me." You know, like, it's not funny to me. Like, this is not, you can't force this shit on people. He was like, "You know you like it, you're so sexy." And he's just like honestly, like, taking advantage of me, like, taking advantage of the fact that I was not speaking up for myself. And so, I'm trying my hardest to, like, push him and, like, get him off. And also trying to be quiet about it. That, like, it wasn't working. So then as soon as, like, I knew it was real when he got on top of me and he folded my legs upwards, and he put all his body like on me, and he was trying to shove his dick in my ass. And I'm like, no. And I'm like really like moving, and I'm getting louder. And then Z and his I think it was Z who moved, like flipped, like he turned over, and he jumped off of me when that happened. Like it was simultaneous. Like he turned and he jumped off like nothing happened. And I'm like, "No, you need to chill out. You need to chill out." And he's just kissing all over me, and he went to, you know, my down there area, and I'm like trying to get him off. He was like, don't do that, your thing is in my mouth, like I can bite it, like, don't do that. And so I'm like, this, I felt like so violated to the point like I froze. And when he was finished doing what he was doing, he like laid down and made me push me up against him to the point like where my ass was on his dick, and he was like holding me, like spooning with me, and I fell asleep, and when we woke up in that morning, he was still in that position, and they had caught him. They caught him that next morning. It was like, damn, why you holding him like that? What the hell? What the fuck y'all did last night? Whatever. And I probably should have told my other two friends like what took place. I didn't, because I'm like, I don't know what they're gonna do, like what they're gonna say, you know. And at this point, you know, we're young, like 12, 13, and I don't need any of that. So I kept it quiet, and we were there for 3 nights, and it got worse and worse each night, like throughout the day. Like it just like became like I was like his bitch. Like he was like, you have to give me a hug every day, da 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 da, and he would just feel on my booty every time I gave him a hug, and he would try to kiss me on the low. Like I'm like, no, like no. And I told, you know, Z and his friend and his brother, I told them that, like, y'all watch, and they caught some of it, and they were doing what they could by like announcing it and then like laughing it off. I'm like, no, you need to like be serious about it. So then they started to spread it, like, this is what he's doing to him. And they were like, oh, so all the other guys didn't really treat him differently, but they knew that he was, you know, fruity at that point. So they just, you know, it wasn't a joke to them when he would touch their booty and stuff like that. Like they moved, like they like popped off, because they were like, nah, like no. So and that's what I'm saying, like it was a real life continuation, because it never came to a stop. Every trip we went on after that, church camp trip for a whole week, it got worse and worse and worse, until eventually, like, he full on like raped me. So at that point I did tell them. They believed it immediately because of everything that had happened in years prior. But I felt the need to tell you guys, because I don't, there could be kids out there that doesn't know what to do in this situation, and the best thing to do is make others aware. Even if it's going to be embarrassing for you, make others aware, because it could save you from what could happen in the future. My greatest regret is not saying anything, because I didn't want to seem like, oh, I'm just outing him, but really I was down for it the whole time, you know. So there's you know, there is a way to go through this and be okay. And I'm crying, or trying not to cry, but I'm feeling it because I was stupid, not because I'm not over it. I made the mistake, and I don't want anybody else, no little boy, no little girl, especially boys, because people think that this doesn't happen to boys. It does. And if you're a more shy person like I am, it can really go wrong. And that's probably why I don't have any male friends to this day, because it was the thing that haunted me about getting close to guys. Because if someone felt like they were going to experiment, they always experimented on me. So like every time. It never failed. Several people have done this to me, and that same person several times, like year after year, until it was just like he was fucking me whenever he felt like it. So I want to be careful, protect yourself, and stand your ground, and do not brush it off or be as careless as I was. I mean, I think that's about it. Thank you guys. Stay perfectly imperfect, and I'll see you guys